Hello, ma'am. Good day to you. Once again, I am Janbet Avilar, and for today, I'm going to answer the questions that you had given us sa Google Classroom, and that was about the historical background of science and technology. So, number one question, explain how science and technology affected the society and environmental and vice versa. So here is my answer. For me, science and technology are changing society faster and more each year. They improve and also ruin our environment faster each year. And for me, I think everything depends on the purpose, intentions, and that we use our development with. Science and technology create tools that people can use in ways that might affect environment. A lot of environmental damage has been done by people using technology without adequate understanding or care about the consequences. People do what they need to do to keep themselves and their families. However, despite of these negative impacts, let us appreciate also the great impacts of using science and technology. We all know that these contemporary times, um, technology advanced higher for the people to help societies raise productivity, inclusivity of services, and improve overall well-being. So we all know that in using technology, there have been consequences. Naara jud na sa toa on how we control or how we use it properly. So rem- remind uh, we should remind ourselves that in using it, we should know the limits. We should know the consequences kung manobra nato sa paggamit, like di na siya maayo unsa iyahang mga maidulot nga not good. So mao to siya. And number two, identify inventions and discoveries that changed the world over the course of history. So nag-base ko sa video nga imuhang gisend ato sa Google Classroom, ma'am. So there are three major technological advancements made by Sumerians, Babylonians, and Egyptians. So Sumerians were known as cooperative, developed many things connected with science and technology, while Babylonians were also a great builders, engineers, and architects. And also the Egyptians were good in infrastructures, engineering technology. So I have top three contributions from each koan, each each country, I should say, or katong mga Sumerians, Egyptians. So sa Sumerian made a cuneiform. Muna ila number one, the first writing system. For them, effective kaayo na nila. Number two is Uruk City, the first true city in the world. They made that to prevent from wild animals and neighboring raiders for entering. And number three, the sailboats. The sailboats were very essential in transportation and trading as well in fostering. So, let's move on to Babylonians' contribution. So, usara man ni ang Babylonians' contribution, which is the Hanging Garden of Babylon. This was one of the seven wonders of the ancient world. So, nice ko no kaayo na siya. But, many people said that kung ano daw na siya, usara daw na siya ka productivity of imagination. Pero kung tinuod daw ni siya, naguba na daw ni siya sa mga world wars or sa mga mananakop, So mao ni siya, pero usa ni siya ka pinakanindot sa wonders of the ancient world. So moving on, lastly, the Egyptians' contributions. So number one is cosmetics. So the purpose of this is not only for aesthetic but also for health. Egyptians wore kohl around the eyes to prevent and even cure eye disease. And muna siya, ang cosmetics is for the cure of the eyes, kung may mga disease ang eyes. So, ang number two kay wig. During their times, wigs were worn for health and wellness rather than for aesthetic purposes. It is also used to protect the shaved heads of the wealthy Egyptians from the harmful rays of the sun. So we all know that we are familiar with the wig nga kanang wig nga ato sulot-suoton for the pageants. But para sa ilaha kay mo protect na siya sa kanang harmful rays of the sun. So number 3 kay water clock or clepsydra. So this device utilizes gravity that affects the flow of water from one vessel to the other. The amount of water remaining in the device determines how much time has elapsed since it is full. It's in the process, time is measured. So mao to siya ilahang orasan kung katong tubig-tubig kung asa na ito ang water dito na ang oras. So let's move on to the question number 3. Discuss the scientific and technological developments in the Philippines. So here is my answer, Ma. According to some sources, there were numerous scattered, thriving, relatively self-sufficient and autonomous communities long before the Spaniards arrived. The early Filipinos had attained a generally simple level of technological development. Compared with those of the Chinese and Japanese, we all know man nga ang Chinese and Japanese they are so very advanced in technology. But at least nasa te ato But this was sufficient for their needs at that period of time. So gradually, the early Filipinos learned to make metal, tools, and implements copper, gold, bronze, and later iron. The Iron Age is considered to have lasted from the 2nd or 3rd century BC to the 10th century AD. By the 1st AD, Filipinos were weaving cotton, smelting iron, making pottery, and glass ornaments. And we are also engaged in agriculture. Lowland rice was cultivated in diked fields, and in the interior mountain regions as in the Cordillera. In terraced fields which utilizes spring waters. Filipinos had also learned to build boats for the coastal trade. So there were so many science and technological development happened in the Philippines. Even up to this day, there are still many people inventing higher technologies. They are inventing higher technological things as it has a good purpose. But we just have to use these things in a proper way and must remember the consequences of using it. And most of all, we must know the limits. So, at the end of the day, technologies are very helpful and useful to us, but we just have to know the limits, and we just have to remind the consequences. Remember the consequences rather. So I think that would be all. Thank you so much, Mom. Thank you.